Why aren't you buckled up? Even though seatbelts have saved over 1 million lives, are in every new car sold, and definitely do work.
The main artery from his heart was torn. And that's what killed Richard.
What makes seatbelts so useful? How have they evolved? And how can we get more people to buckle up? Rev delves in. Seatbelts are estimated to have saved over 1 million lives globally. Since the widespread adoption of the 3-point seatbelt in the 1960s, they've prevented occupants from being ejected during a crash. They've reduced the severity of internal injuries by preventing people from hitting the interiors of a car or being flung onto other occupants. They've also held people in the right position to benefit from airbag deployment, and have reduced the risk of fatal injuries in passenger vehicles dramatically.
The safety belt is, although it is 65 years old, it is still the most important safety device in the car.
A study in 2009 found that seatbelts alone roughly halve the chance of a fatal or serious injury from those in the front seat. Around 6 out of 10 fatally injured unbelted occupants would have survived had they worn a seatbelt.
But the overwhelming evidence of the seatbelt's efficacy hasn't been enough to convince people to use it. There's always an excuse. It's only a short trip, I don't need it while sitting in the rear seat, or the airbag will protect me. All incorrect.
If you don't wear the seatbelt, you will be just free flying inside the car. By being connected to the car, you can benefit from all the safety systems in the car.
Across the world, seatbelt use varies dramatically by geography and demographic group. High-income countries like the UK, some EU members, Japan, and parts of Australia report front seat compliance rates above 95%, while many low and middle-income regions across Asia, the Middle East, and Africa see far lower rates. In some places, fewer than half of all drivers buckle up, and rear seatbelt use can drop below 20%. In the United States, usage is high overall, but still inconsistent, with young adults and rural drivers belting up less often than older or urban ones. Rear seat compliance remains a global weak point. Women are significantly more likely to wear seatbelts than men. Disparities that highlight how cultural norms, law enforcement, and risk perception shape whether or not people use one of automotive safety's most effective life-saving technologies.
It's not uncommon for us to see seatbelts clipped into buckles but sat upon rather than actually worn, or even a substitute tongue cut from another vehicle and inserted into the buckle to try and fool the vehicle to think that the seatbelt's been worn.
Before we get to why people are so cavalier about seatbelt use, let's take a closer look at the 3-point seatbelt.
The safety belt is actually the only restraining device that can immediately connect you to the vehicle.
From the first version of the 3-point seatbelt in 1959, cleverly designed to adapt to people of different shapes and sizes, things kept getting better. Spring-loaded retractors were added, which meant the seatbelt would adjust itself. Pretensioners came next, increasing the efficiency of the belt in crash situations. Then came electrical retractors and load limiters that helped with occupant safety in a crash.
There's a lot of things going on behind the B-trim or parcel shelf that you don't see.
Seatbelts are very effective safety measures. Research from the last 45 years agrees on this, and in an equivalent collision, those who do not wear a seatbelt will receive worse injuries.
But even as the seatbelt has become more effective, some car users simply aren't convinced. So why don't people wear seatbelts? Some believe they're too skilled a driver to get into a life-threatening accident. Some believe seatbelts aren't needed for short drives, although data shows that accidents often happen close to home and at relatively low speeds. And there are other weird theories too.
No matter what you see in the movies, don't think that being thrown clear of the vehicle is safer than being restrained inside by a seatbelt. It's not.
Studies conducted in India show that some people don't like wearing seatbelts because they might crease their clothes, making road safety awareness campaigns so important. And typically in low-income countries, where not everyone has access to the latest cars, people often drive used cars that have no seatbelts, nor systems reminding you to buckle up. But a far more distressing myth has hounded the seatbelt since its invention. People believe seatbelts might trap them inside their car in the event of an accident, making escaping water or flames impossible. Others believe seatbelts could cause strangulation or neck injuries. But when worn correctly, that's not a risk.
They think that there's a risk for strangling. It is really the opposite. What happens is, due to this 3-point attachment on one shoulder only, the other shoulder will roll out a bit. Thereby, the seatbelt slides out away from the neck in most crashes. And that's really what we see in the real world. We don't see strangling of the seatbelt.
But when seatbelts aren't worn and an accident occurs, it usually involves 3 separate collisions.
The first one involves the vehicle and the external object. The second collision occurs between the unbelted occupant and the vehicle interior. So this might be the chest hitting the steering wheel, might be the head hitting the windscreen, or it might be the occupant being ejected entirely from the vehicle. The third collision occurs when the internal organs of the body hit against the chest wall or the skeletal structure.
The main artery from his heart was torn. And that's what killed Richard.
Seatbelts reduce injuries by preventing the second collision, the one where the occupant hits the interior parts of the vehicle or an external object.
Misinformation about the seatbelt has always abounded. In 1949, Nash Motors became the first company in the U.S. to offer seatbelts on their cars, but didn't find too many takers. Ford had a similar experience. But progress was being made. Hunter Sheldon, a neurologist from California, studied head injuries due to car accidents and proposed the idea of the retractable seatbelt. Hugh DeHaven, the father of crash survivability, developed the combination shoulder and lap safety belt, a version of the 3-point seatbelt. Vattenfall, the Swedish state-owned electric company, tasked their engineers to work on seatbelts to curb employee deaths in road accidents. And Volvo engineer Niels Bolin perfected the 3-point seatbelt, first installing it in a Volvo PV544 and then in the series production Volvo Amazon. Over 1 million lives saved later, the rest is history. But the work of needing to educate and remind people to wear seatbelts remains. People don't like being told what to do and believe that mandating the use of seatbelts infringes on their freedom, which is why road safety awareness campaigns, ones that are innovative,
इधर से बेंड ले लो और अपने बॉडी के सामने से खींचो और जांघों के बाजू में ऐसा फिट कर लो जब तक क्लिक नहीं सुनाई दे इतना गोरा गोरा मुंह एक्सीडेंट के बाद अच्छा नहीं लगेगा.
and campaigns that are grisly are required. These ads are effective. Let's look at Germany, where 98% of all occupants wear seatbelts. East Germany made seatbelts compulsory in 1980. And though West Germany had made usage mandatory in 76, they only began fining people for non-compliance in 84. The laws met with resistance from the auto industry and the general public. Safety campaigns showing that weightlifter Rudolf Mang and wrestler Wilfried Dietrich couldn't take the impact of not being buckled up helped. And the world over, cold hard facts helped too.
I think the best example of the effectiveness of seatbelts is when Britain made it compulsory by law for front seat passengers in cars and light vans to wear a seatbelt. In just 12 months, there were 27% fewer front seat fatalities. In 2 years, over 800 lives in Britain had been saved by the seatbelt law.
But penalties and fines are even more effective than statistics. In Australia, where seatbelts became mandatory in some states as early as 1970, penalties can be very high. In Queensland, not wearing a seatbelt, wearing it improperly, or driving with passengers unbuckled can lead to a fine of over 1,000 Australian dollars, around 560 euros. But constant reminders that occupants must wear seatbelts also help.
There are some that don't use the belt correctly, like taking it under the arm because it's uncomfortable to the neck. And in those situations, we can address that by comfort. So that's technical design, it's like modifying things in the car to make it fit more people. But it all starts with understanding all of this.
Although the one-size-fits-all seatbelt seems to be a good starting point.
The fit of modern three-point belts gives a really good coverage again across all sizes and genders. The fit of seatbelts will vary only a few millimeters between the smallest female and the largest males in the biggest 5% of the population. Children are the exception.
Which is why children must be strapped into booster seats. But there's more progress being made. Automotive safety today is a complex dance between a car's data sensors and safety systems like collision warning, automatic braking, seatbelts, and airbags. Getting more data and processing it as fast as possible is imperative. Volvo's new multi-adaptive seatbelt marks the next step, using vehicle computing to tailor seatbelt performance to each occupant and crash scenario. While AI helps analyze large data sets, preset validated parameters still provide the safest foundation for restraint systems.
Artificial intelligence and machine learning is a very important tool developing our sensors and the sensing capabilities. So to understand what's going on inside and outside of the vehicle. When it comes to activating our restraint systems, we're still working in a more traditional manner, but using the information from the additional sensors.
So what's next in the evolution of seatbelts? Well, with autonomous driving, rotating seats, and new cabin layouts on the horizon, seatbelt tech will have to evolve based on how cars are used.
We have explored in different concept cars, different ideas, even lying flat. And obviously that's super challenging from a restraint perspective. When we address challenges like that, we go back to the fundamental protection principles.
And the fundamentals involve getting your geometry right. So the seatbelt has to go over your shoulder and across the hip bones. Children need to be in a booster seat to ensure they're belted correctly. And pregnant women need to buckle the seatbelt under their belly to make sure it doesn't dig into their abdomen. Seatbelts are only effective if you buckle up right.
We need people's help. In order to protect them, we need their help to buckle up. Because the rest of the work we do then would not benefit them.
My biggest advice as a forensic engineer is to wear a seatbelt. Whether you're in the front seat or the back seat, whether you're in a 4-hour road trip or a 5-minute just nip to the shops, wear your seatbelt properly.
And that's really irrespective if you're in a car or if you're in a bus. You know, if there's a seatbelt available, use it because it's highly efficient and it will help protect you.
Are you guilty of not wearing a seatbelt? And has this video changed your mind? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like this video, subscribe to DW Rev.